Knowledge accumulation. You're here and you're taking a college class. That is part of the process as you go through. You also have other ways to accumulate knowledge, and we'll talk about those, especially in this section over here. Knowledge is really a fundamental core of running the business. Part of the expertise of going to the right location, talking to the right people, talking the jargon as you go down to it. John Wooden, maybe one of the greatest basketball coaches in history as you go through, he said this: by observing constantly, stay open-minded, be eager to learn and improve. That needs to be the mantra of every entrepreneur. In our case, we're not looking to win a basketball game. We're looking to sit down and conquer a business cycle as you go through, make certain that our business is the best it can possibly be. That means paying attention, being open to new markets and opportunities, or the same one, maybe just a little bit different way as you go through. The power of learning. Knowledge itself isn't enough. It really is knowledge plus effort. Knowledge is the key though, but the aspect of just knowledge itself, that's a book knowledge. You need to launch yourself, as we talked about previously as you go through. We need to expose ourselves to opportunities, differences in our field as you go through, and you may pick up one thing over there and all of a sudden you go off in this course and you actually improve the overall success rate of your business as you go through. Look for solutions. You want to reduce the uncertainty and the risk that you're going to have. It's called adopting a growth mindset as you go through. Search for knowledge, get priorities as you go through. There's an old axiom called the 10,000 hour rule. There are 2,080 hours in a work year. That comes out to really 40 hours a week times 52, 2,080 hours. Just so you know, that's not the work week that we have as an entrepreneur. A lot of times we actually go through and we work a lot more hours than that as we go. So that being said, 10,000 hours of experience normally qualifies you as an expert. Oh, there's certain rules out there, and I've seen all the academic arguments. Well, really, 10,000 hours doesn't really come down to it. You know what? And gravity pulls down, except there's cases of fish showers, about 4 of them in the last century as you go through. And no one ever gets hit by a meteor, except Herman down the street as you go through. Life will always have an exception, but for the most part, if you are doing a type of task for 10,000 hours, you do become that expert. That's about 5 years worth of work. If you have that kind of experience, especially in your field as you go through, and by the way, you should, unless you're buying a franchise, and that's a little bit different story. We'll talk about that at a different time as you go through. That rule will help you. As you go through, ask, learn, pivot to sit down and grasp the knowledge out there. Even if it stretches your mind a little bit in the process, talk with entrepreneurs. That is what this class is about. This is about learning the mindset of an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are always asking questions. To be honest about it, I was surprised to see the Wall Street Journal write an article about the aspect of, do entrepreneurs have ADHD? You know, which really is a super short attention span. The answer is a lot of them do. They bounce from topic to topic to topic. They're always exploring. They're always asking questions. They always try to become the expert in their own area. And really, nobody should be smarter than that or appear to be smarter than that. Sometimes appearances mean everything. So learn to pivot and shift when what you're doing doesn't work today as you go through. Sometimes it's synergy. It's about the cooperation of 2 or more organizations. Sometimes you actually have a team in the aspect of an entrepreneur, but sometimes your team members don't know it as you go through. Effort and knowledge. Make certain that you're talking about it. Make sure you're tapping other people's expertise. Make certain you're listening to people over here as you go through. It really isn't all-encompassing, and almost it's always the aspect that the entrepreneur is always looking for opportunity, always looking for help, always looking for options. You know, learning to find, a lot of it is curriculum as you go through. I'm going to college to take this course, but I have to tell you, I'm not certain you can learn how to be an entrepreneur unless you do. You can sit down there and be in a class like this one, read about it, study it as you go through. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of leaping out into the faith and taking that risk. And it's terrifying. And I'm not certain a degree prepares you for that, except a degree can prepare you to sit down and have the mindset, which is what this is about. Sometimes going to school is a one-time experience, but entrepreneurship really gives you a continuous thing of learning, learning, learning as you go through. It really is the aspect of experience in an area and learning through experience. Remember, number one, the 10,000 hour rule, that really does qualify you to be an expert. Don't reinvent the wheel as you go through. When you learn something, sometimes you learn it by watching somebody's actions or whatever you go through, get their experience instead of reliving it. Pay attention to what they've done, pay attention to their successes, pay attention to their failures just as well, and see what you can learn from them without having to experience yourself. Ask, learn, and pivot whenever necessary. Take care.